Hi guys, it's time for another vlog, and this one I wish to share with you what conclusion we reached with a friend about what reading versus practice. And let me give you a little background story so that you have an idea where the idea started from. Usually, in my opinion, in order to expand my horizons and information as well as abilities, I like to think, at least that's the basis of it. I think that it's best to read a book and see what the author's perspective is on from the book, so that I can see what new applications I can learn, or how he sees the world, how he sees it, and what he applies, how he does it, what are his life advice, etc. I think you get the idea. And from there on, I would test out those ideas, see how they apply to me, how relevant they are, how they can be used, and how useful they can be. Now, that's okay. I really like that idea, and usually I focus and really push myself to read more and more, because usually books, I'm a kind of a slow reader, and I prefer to read a book from start to finish. And usually what happens is that I focus on myself and push myself to read a lot, uh, a lot. Well, yes, I'm pushing myself to read a lot, and I can do that for 1-2 days. But on the third day, I just get sick of it, and I can't really stand it anymore. In which case, I become nervous, and it might turn into, okay, it doesn't really turn into anger, but it's something like I'm going into a passive aggressive state where I'm just cutting myself off from my social life, because that's what I usually do. In order to continue to read, I stop communicating with people so that I can focus on the book and see what's explained in there, or what are the concepts, etc. But the third day I really can't stand it. And usually what I've learned is that the reason that I get nervous is the reason that I get anxiety from cutting out my social life is that I've learned that socializing is a source of information and experience that you can't actually get from a book. In my opinion, it's better than reading. Now, here I'm expressing two different ideas that are kind of opposing each other, but usually they're connected in the sense that I want to read so that I can have better interactions with social interactions, but it doesn't really work out for me. Every time I start reading, I can do it for 1-2 days, and on the third day I'm just thinking of quitting to do it and just continuing on without the book, because it really isn't the base of information that I typically look for. It's not as expressive as I would like. It's really, reading is a one-way experience where you just gain information without any actual practice. Whereas in the social environment, you would have different interactions and therefore different experiences. Those experiences can be useful in different ways, but you have to pass through them in order to learn. And what we actually concluded with my friend that we conversed on the matter was that it's actually practice. The practice is the most full source of information, complete source of information, which will provide you with the most important piece of information on what your current situation is, what you can do, what you should learn, what abilities you should develop, and how you should adapt. all those things aren't included in reading or watching a video, right? If you gain some information, afterwards you have to actually try it out. Whereas when you're in an experience, you're already doing that, and since every moment is individual in it by itself, there's no way of predicting how things are going to develop. So there's always something new to learn, and there's always something unexpected happening, which is rich source of information is an environment. In that sense, for me that makes a lot of sense, because there was a study that we were told, I think I have forgotten if it was in school or at the university, that the more sensors we use in an interaction, or the more sensors we invest in a source of information, the more we learn. Like for example, while we're reading, we're only investing our visual sensors, so we're only investing our eyes, and we're just thinking about stuff. If we're watching a video, we're investing visual and audio sensors, which we align more perfectly as logic to us, because we're using more sensors. So and in some way we make better associations when we see somebody doing something. This is why videos and when we see somebody do or talk about something, because in some way we interpret things and make associations easier when we see somebody talking about them, doing them, when we see the practical action to that. Whereas when there's actual practical action from our side, we're actually investing everything: vision, hearing, smell, touch, feeling, everything, and we actually invest ourselves. And where we're investing ourselves, we're more prone to actually learn something, to focus on what we're doing, and be more responsive as well as responsible to the thing that we're doing, because we know that it's directly connected to us. Whereas if you're just watching a video, the associations aren't really the same as well as when you're reading a book, right? In both those cases, since you're not the actual person that's doing those things, it's not the information isn't as solid as you would if you've experienced it yourself. So for example, right now I'm just talking and you're just hearing and watching me, but there's a difference in the understanding that we are going to have of what I'm talking, and about what I'm talking and what you think I'm talking about, as well as the experiences and the depth that we see in what this is regarding. Because a person is more prone to accept something as general information if he hasn't experienced it. If he has experienced it in any kind of form or way, then he actually there's a resonating experience that both sides align vibrationally, and that's an understanding is achieved. But that's only in the case where there's an actual experience. If there isn't experience, it's more like a story. We don't really pay any mind to the story except for entertainment. If we actually see something useful in the story, it's usually because we've experienced something similar. And it really doesn't really matter if it's a fictional science fiction film, whatever it is, as long as we've experienced it, we can see a bigger depth in what's happening, what we're doing, and how things are represented around us. Okay, this is what I wanted to share with you. I hope it was clear. If it wasn't, you can share it up in the comments and I can help there as well. I'm having a little difficulty bringing up the words in English, which is why I'm stuttering so much, but I hope that at least the idea became clear and it at least gave you an idea or an understanding that it's better to practice instead of just gather information. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.